Fiancé proposed a polygamous relationship weeks before our wedding, influenced by his friends, leaving me questioning everything. I, 28F, and my fiancé John, 28 male, have been together for, as the title says, about 5 years. To understand the dilemma, I need to give you some background. We both came from very religious backgrounds, though it affected both of us very differently. John became a problem child, running away, causing problems, and eventually finding a crowd his parents would not approve of. Most of the members of this group were a part of the LGBTQ+, smoked pot, engaged in protests and were either atheist, or practiced different religion. Although some of the members since have left, this crowd became his current friend group. I won't go into details about each and every one of them, but the main ringleaders are Alex, 35NB, and Avery, 33M. From what I understand, they collected damaged people, as John jokingly said one day, and let them couch surf when things got rough. Alex is some sort of a Nepo baby and Avery works in IT, or something like that. John met them when he was 15. At first, I thought they seemed very cool and couldn't wait to meet them since John equated their relationship to that of a child and a parent, so clearly very important people in his life. But when I finally met them, when we were 21, and in college and home for the summer break, the meeting left me a bit disillusioned. Alex was catty and had snide remarks since I wasn't LGBTQ+ or anything, at most bi-curious, and Avery treated me like a child, but John said they always need to break new people in, so I tried to think positive and did my best to impress them with what I was studying and what my plans for the future are, both regarding me personally and my relationship. But the more I talked, the more they seemed to disapprove of me. Despite the strange meeting, John seemed ecstatic to see them again, and gushed about how much they liked me, so I kept my mouth shut and just nodded along. Now, to understand a bit deeper on who Alex and Avery are, in the town they live in, they're something like local celebrities. Very spiritual, their home is full of souvenirs they accumulated over all their travels, are also married, but their definition of marriage is very different from the traditional one. Apparently, they went to some tropical state and took some hallucinogens together, and in their state, they proclaimed everlasting love for one another. Quite a wild concept for someone like me, but I learned to be more open-minded since I left for college. That being said, they also said that they can see auras, whatever that is, and apparently love my fiancés. I don't know what they think of mine, but it probably isn't much. Which brings us to the topic I came here with. Last week, after we got home from work, John sat me down and asked me what I think about being in a polygamous relationship. He said he loves me so much, more than is possible, and doesn't know what to do with the rest of it, thinking that it's fair to give it to someone else. I, on the other hand, don't have a limit on how much I can love him, so I said no, and that was that. However, the question has been plaguing my mind ever since. If you knew John just a fraction, you'd know he researches about things long before he actually commits to anything. Any lifestyle or relationship changes, whatever. This makes me think that he has already thought about it for a while, and that he also consulted Alex and/or Avery about this. I don't want to villainize them, but I know, for a fact, they're not in a monogamous relationship, and they clearly don't like me as the rest of their little group. Again, I don't want to point fingers, and I won't ask John to show me his messages with them unless I have solid proof that isn't just a gut feeling, but I just have this horrible feeling that they, somehow, pulled in John. There's no way he just thought about it suddenly on his own. 5 years of relationship, and the idea of non-monogamy was never brought up, and now suddenly, just as we're about to be married, he brings this up? I don't buy it one bit, but I can't just go ahead and confront them now, can I? I just don't know what to do. I feel stuck. At home, I pretend everything is fine since my group of close friends told me that I'm just overthinking, and I believed it for a while, but whenever I look at John, all I can think of is, he thinks there's a cap on how much he can love me, and he wants to love someone else. I want to deal with this, but I don't know how. If I bring it up with John, he'll just brush it off as well, or he'll think I'm cheating or don't trust his friends. I worked hard to get their approval, and I know for a fact John shares everything with them. He wouldn't keep this for himself. Update 1. Me and John came from similar backgrounds, but my family was a bit less strict, allowing me to go to college since I had great grades. The plan for me was to move back after getting a degree, finding a job, a husband, and living the traditional life, which, obviously, didn't happen because I met John, who literally changed the trajectory of my life. After a year, I switched from my first major to one I liked more, and it's been a while since I contacted my parents. They didn't approve, of course, but with John's help, I didn't give in to their demands to come back. Now they know I'm getting married and are invited, but the last time we spoke was about 2 months ago. John has completely no contact with his parents since 18. I didn't talk about the friend group in more detail at first since I didn't think they were that important, but they do like me. At first, they were obviously a bit unsure since to them, I was a cishet white passing woman, but they warm up to me and I'm proud to call them my friends. The only people who didn't fully accept me are Avery and Alex, and since me and John got together officially, they tend to call me the wife in this strange, almost derogatory manner. It's not an important detail, but it gets on my nerves. Lastly, John is aware that opening up the relationship would lead to me being intimate, physically or emotionally, with other people, but he said it's a great chance for me to explore my bi side, though I haven't expressed the desire to really be with a woman in a committed relationship of that magnitude. On to what happened. I shot a message to John 2 days ago that we need to talk. He works from home, I don't, so as soon as I got home, we sat down to have an in-depth conversation about his proposal. I think he knew what it's going to be about, and I had the feeling he seemed almost guilty, but I ignored that and basically word vomited everything that's been on my mind. This is embarrassing because I wrote down most of what the comments advised and was prepared to have a mature discussion, but by the end of my easily 15-minute rant, I was in tears and he had to hold me, otherwise I'd crumble completely. The gist of what I said is that I'm hurt that he wants to fuck other people and that he doesn't care that I'd fuck other people too, that he believes there's a limit to how much he can love me and that I can't see where this all came from, that he just sprung this on me out of nowhere just a few months before we're to be wed. We tried to have a mature discussion, yes, but by the end, he was frustrated. He did apologize for making me feel less than, but said that my outlook on an open relationship is selfish. What it all boiled down to was that he feels he didn't have enough time to find himself before he committed to me, which is bullshit because he didn't show any signs of wanting more than I could offer. We were very happy throughout the 5 years. I really believed I met my soulmate. I realized that, since we were engaged, he seemed to talk more to his friend group, and by extension to Avery and Alex. Again, I don't want to paint them as these cartoonish villains, they're really interesting and all, but now I want nothing more than to scratch those self-absorbed, smug smiles off their faces. In the end, I demanded to see his phone, and he was shocked. We had a rule that we can see each other's phones, but we don't share passwords or anything since relationship is built on trust, and neither wanted to be a prison guard in the relationship. Nevertheless, he unlocked and handed over his phone, and I searched his messages, even deleted ones, and found nothing out of the ordinary. Then I checked the call log, and guess fucking what? Hours-long calls to and from either Avery or Alex. I was fuming, and asked him what the hell does he need to discuss with them this long, and mind you, these dated months back. John eventually caved in and admitted it was them who brought up the idea of open relationship, but they also talked about everything else since they're role models. John admitted that he started getting cold feet a while ago and needed a safe place to discuss this. I guess I, his wife-to-be, am not safe? Please make it make sense. Why even marry me, then? He promised we'd go to a couples counselor and fix all of this, his issues with marriage, the open relationship thing, the whole 9 yards, and that he'd book an emergency session with his therapist, that he loves me and wants nothing but to be with me. It was late, so we went to bed. Despite how messy this all sounds, I was a bit more reassured by this. I genuinely love him, even if my post doesn't reflect that very well. Though many people said to just leave, I want that to be the last resort. I was willing to jump through hoops to make this work. But guess who's the idiot? This morning, I woke up to an empty apartment, and a message on my phone from John, saying that he needs a few days to think this all over and needs space. He didn't say where he was going or when he'd come back. I called and messaged everyone I know, but no one can tell me where John is. I told him that he either comes back home in 24 hours, or this is over. As you can imagine, I'm a wreck. I took the rest of the week off in between crying sessions and staring blankly into the wall. I obsessively check NY messages in hopes of someone telling me where John is. To be honest, if he's willing to put me through this, I'm not sure I want to be with him. How can you do this to someone you love? Update 2. I just didn't really feel like updating since we're in sort of a limbo. He came back the following morning, and since then, it's like we're both roommates that do their best to stay out of each other's way, but go to sleep in the same bed. It's weird. After my post, I got Alex's number from one of the friends I'm the closest with. I called them like 15 times, all voicemails, until they picked up on the 15th call. I told them to hand the phone over to John, and they had the nerve to say he wasn't there, so I did a little bluff and said, friend's name, already told me he's there, and it worked. I so wanted him to be anywhere else but at their ugly-ass house with knickknacks lining the shelf, but once again, I'm the idiot for believing otherwise. I didn't let John get a word in and told him that he either comes home, or I'm packing his things and throwing them on the front lawn. He did, shockingly, show up the next morning. The wedding has been cancelled until further notice. We've been to a counselor and I have to admit, I wasn't easy to work with. I think the counselor was heavily biased for trying new things, so I just shut down and hummed as a response to almost everything. Things haven't moved since. I want to talk, but I just don't know if it's even worth it, and John won't approach me himself since he's anxious about my response. I've felt like shit ever since he came back. Feels like I'm in two halves. One wants to talk and resolve this, the other wishes for nothing but for John to once again pack his things and leave to get some space at AA's. I talked with my mom and she said that every marriage is worth fighting for, and how can you expect every relationship to be smooth sailing? Update 3. Since my fiancé found my post, again, on TikTok, and I got the green light, the reason why he used to feel unfulfilled is because he's trans, and feels like he didn't get much experience in before committing to me. That's fair, I guess. I'm not in his position, so I can't tell. Now, you're probably going to be mad at me, but we're still together. I'm sorry. The wedding is still not happening anytime soon, but we still live together and go to couples counseling. After John found my post, he showed me the video and asked me if it's about us since it was pretty specific, and I admitted that I reached out for help to strangers on the internet. Despite him being the type to keep up appearances, he was calm and I let him read the comments, which was the eye-opener. I'm still mad a bunch of strangers got through to him better than I did, but at least someone got through to him. I'll admit, out of the two of us, he's more passionate than me, at least outwardly. He broke down and begged me not to leave him despite almost every comment telling me to do so, and even though I had one foot out of the door, I agreed to continue counseling and therapy and see where that gets us. For now, we have until the end of the year to work on our relationship, and if it doesn't work, it won't work. We agreed on this. After New Year's, no begging, no demanding, no bullshit. We're either in or out. John also agreed to go low contact with AA and told me everything regarding them. For the sake of his privacy, I won't go into detail, but I'll share what I'm allowed to share. He said that, when he met them, AA were very warm and welcoming towards him in a way no one ever was, which hooked him. Like I said, his Christian home was not welcoming towards him, even before he came out. He never lived with AA more than a few days at a time even though they told him John is always welcome, even forever. They were like those cool parents who turn a blind eye to their kids smoking the green and stuff, and he admitted he let himself be buttered up. Then, about 10 years ago, he had sex with both of them. That either means he slept with them as a minor, or slept with them when he was freshly 18, which, either way, means he was groomed, in my eyes, and while John didn't entirely deny this, he said that's something he'll discuss with his therapist. I guess they played on his insecurities a little to sway him towards an open relationship. The night he left, Alex tried to put the moves on him, but he turned them away, though John admitted he's not entirely sure if it was on purpose or if Alex was just a bit tipsy and they didn't realize what they were doing. I think I know. And about AA trying to rope us into their polyamory band, I don't know. John said that the idea was pitched to him a few times, with AA painting it as the best thing ever, but that they never specifically said that they'd want to be our third and fourth, just joked about it, which John says is their style, but I don't know. I know it's naive of me to stay, that I should just pack my bags and leave, but I'm seeing a genuine change in John. He showed me a message he sent to AA, in short, telling them that he needs to distance himself for the sake of his relationship, to not contact him unless absolutely necessary. He gave me the password to his phone even though I didn't ask for it. Like I said, I want to be his partner, not his prison guard, but he said I can check it, even in secret, whenever I feel suspicious, so there's that. We're going to a different couples counselor now, and it's definitely going better. John keeps hanging out with his friends, all of them are 100% supportive, even though some of them are in an open/polyamory relationship, but he asked that they don't relay anything to AA. Oh, and Alex messaged him a couple of times. It was very satisfying to see either them or Avery grow increasingly upset over John ignoring them completely. They also messaged me, but I immediately blocked them without even reading it. For all I care, they can rot in hell. The only reason I didn't drive over to their house to beat them up for what they did to John is because he convinced me to not give them any more energy. Update 4. I barely know where to start, there's so much. If you made it through my previous novels of updates, great, because this one's a total wild ride. I'm genuinely still reeling and my hands are half shaking as I type this. There's very little same old here. Things have gone way off script, and I don't think either of us saw any of this coming. First off, John and I are still in therapy, twice a week now, one individual session each and one together. We're both sticking to the low AA contact boundary like our lives depend on it. Not only that, but we finally got some clarity I never thought possible. John finally decided to open up more about his whole history, not just with AA, but with his past, his family, and, interestingly, his time as the group's unofficial little brother. Q. Bombshell revelation number 1. AA's house? Not the only safe house they ran back in the day. Their whole friend group apparently had this unspoken pipeline for ex-religious/LGBTQ+ folks, John included, who needed emergency shelter, and, to keep it realistic, I 100% believe the good intentions were real. However, John admitted that there was more emotional enmeshment than I could have guessed, and honestly, some of it crosses big, neon not okay lines. To illustrate, last week, completely out of the blue, we were both summoned as guests of honor to a goodbye party AA was throwing. Apparently, they're moving to another city, suddenly, for a spiritual reset. It was such a whiplash moment that, after declining the invite for John and me, high fives for boundaries, we learned that 2 members of their old friend group, people I'd only vaguely met, were suddenly all over social media holding exposé lives. This leads directly to bombshell number 2. Turns out, AA's little empire has unraveled. Several people from their adopted family came forward, naming names and talking about experiences strikingly similar to John's: intense love bombing, inappropriate initiation rituals, boundaries being crossed in the guise of spiritual closeness, blah blah. And yes, some situations very much bordering on grooming, in my non-professional but angrily Googled opinion. John was shaken to his core, and to be honest, so was I. There's a lot of aftermath swirling from that revelation, but ultimately, John's feelings shifted from anger to something more like grief and relief. It's like he's realizing a whole chapter of his personal history was toxic and manipulative, not the family of choice he believed in. We spent 2 straight nights untangling these memories together, piecing things together. He's got a rocky road ahead, but we both agree, no more contact. AA tried to reach out after the expose, but we blocked every number and social after a single, cryptic "you'll regret not hearing our side" text. Other side of the circus, we're not isolated. John's other friends, the actual ride or die ones, have stepped in hard. It's like a friend group revival tour in our living room some evenings. I've never seen John more open, more himself. One of those friends is even helping him look for an LGBTQ+ affirming therapist with a background in religious trauma. Finally. Meanwhile, my own chosen family has rallied. Remember how my parents were invited to our maybe wedding? That's another plot twist. Despite everything, my mom came to visit, and brought an olive branch. She just wanted to spend a normal weekend with me. I wasn't hopeful, but it was shockingly healing. No, she doesn't get John fully, or the queer community, but for the first time maybe ever, she genuinely listened. She even apologized for not being there when I needed her during the worst of this, and hugged John, saying, "I can learn." I think my jaw was on the floor most of Sunday. Now, the wildest update, we got a dog. Okay, I know that sounds like a sitcom season finale twist, but bear with me, a former AA friend was fostering a little rescue, and John instantly fell in love. On impulse, we adopted her. She's a three-legged, tail-wagging chaos gremlin, and, weirdly, she's brought a new rhythm to the apartment. Suddenly, John is up before me most mornings, taking her on long walks, talking to her with this soft, goofy voice I haven't heard since we first dated. I'm not saying a dog fixes trauma, but wow, does she make this limbo feel a little less bleak. We did have another long, late kitchen table talk, our specialty. John insisted I still have total veto power if he ever brings up polyamory again. It's off the table for at least a year, if not forever, both for his healing and for my security. We're both not sure about marriage anytime soon, but we have agreed, no more huge commitments until we're comfortable, stable, and proud of the life we choose, not the one anyone else hands to us. I guess the TLDR of this update is, the AA era is finally over. In a giant, messy, public collapse, John is relearning who he is, and finally working with the right kind of professionals. My family is reaching out in genuinely new, and healing, ways. And through the chaos, we are, for the first time in ages, building a life together, not in response to someone else's drama or expectations. Update 5. So, as of 2 weeks ago, John and I were cautiously, tentatively optimistic. We've both got therapists now. The dog is still a three-legged hurricane. She stole and ate an entire loaf of sourdough. We're lucky she doesn't have opposable thumbs, and there are occasional moments when things actually feel good. Not Instagram perfect couple good, but we managed to argue about the laundry without either of us crying good. Progress. Here's where the truly wild new stuff begins. A week ago, John got a letter, yes, an honest-to-God, paper and envelope letter, in the mail, addressed in handwriting he recognized instantly. It was from another former member of AA's friend group, someone John knew vaguely but hadn't seen in over 8 years. Let's call him Marcus. The letter was a bombshell recounting Marcus's own experience. He'd left the state, cut everyone off cold, and was only now reaching out to a handful of people from those days who'd also been hurt by AA. Marcus described the initiation rituals in even more disturbing detail, confirming some things John had half remembered and always half denied. He invited John to join a new, private support group for AA's alumni, a handful of former friends who were all doing group therapy, not in a Reddit drama sense but a literal, credentialed trauma counselor sense. And, plot twist, Marcus now works as a social worker specializing in cult recovery. Look, if you want your faith in the power of second acts restored, talk to a survivor who spends their life helping new survivors. John was hesitant, and after everything, so was I, but after talking it through with his therapist, he joined the Zoom group last Sunday. I let him have privacy, but I swear I heard something in his voice after. Relief, maybe, but mixed with a raw, furious hope. He said he didn't realize just how many people had overlapping stories, or how validating it would be to hear, out loud, what happened to you was a violation. It wasn't your fault. You weren't broken, you were targeted. I nearly cried. I think he did. And then, as if I ordered one plot device too many from the drama gods, Alex reached out, no, not to John, to me, via email, not some throwaway account but their actual work email. The message was restrained. No manipulative rants, just a short, awkward "I know you have no reason to open this, but I want to apologize to you, and to John, for everything. If you ever want to talk, let me know. If not, I understand." I debated responding for a whole 24 hours and eventually wrote back that, while I appreciated the gesture, we are going no contact and wish them luck in whatever weird ayahuasca commune phase is next. But it stirred something in me. Not forgiveness exactly, but a weird, calm finality, a closing of a door I thought I'd be slamming, actually eased shut. Meanwhile, after years of bi-curiosity and second-guessing, thanks, AA, for making me distrust all my self-discovery, I finally admitted aloud, to John and to myself, that I do, actually, want to figure out my own identity. Not in a frantic way, but in the let's see what's up, with no rush and no parties in our relationship way. I downloaded a couple of dating apps for sapphic folks, just to talk, just for me, no secrecy, John in the loop the whole way. It's been weird and freeing and, honestly, 98% awkward, but I finally feel like I'm living for me, and not just reacting to someone else's whims or walls. Another wrench, my dad, who'd previously ignored my existence post-engagement, showed up unannounced. He didn't come to fight, just wanted to make peace. And also, he handed me a wedding gift he bought 6 months ago, a vintage typewriter, because I wanted to be a writer as a kid, and he just never knew if he'd get another chance to give it. We both cried. He left the next morning. I don't know if he'll come to our wedding, whenever that happens, if it ever does, but for the first time, I'm okay not rushing it. If the wedding's ever back on, it will be for us, not for closure or peace with anyone's past. Here's where we are now. John's doing real trauma recovery work, alongside people with shockingly similar scars. I'm unpacking my own stuff, and for once, I honestly want to. That dog? Turns out, she's part pointer, part gremlin, all therapist. Alex and Avery are gone, not just blocked but, miraculously, working through their own journey elsewhere. I'm finding out that my chosen family is wider and weirder and better than I ever thought. Our relationship? Still wobbly, kind of a work-in-progress disaster, but absolutely on our terms for the first time, with no creeping shadows from AA or inherited expectations. We may not get married in the next year, or ever, and instead of feeling destroyed by that, I feel hopeful. Like, really hopeful. If you're still following, there is life after radical friendship breakups, after culty circles, after betrayals and running and crying and all the rest. Sometimes it looks like couples therapy and awkward sapphic first dates and a three-legged rescue eating your slippers. Sometimes it feels like peace for the first time in years. Update 6. The plot twists didn't get the memo. They're still coming literally every time. I think real life can't get more bizarre or unpredictable than what I've already written. The universe just ups the ante. Maybe it's because, for 5 years, I lived in a fog of don't rock the boat, and now it's not just rocks, but freaking tidal waves. This week, the theme is facing the ghosts, clearing air, and small joys in between. Buckle up, again. First, John's trauma group has gone from survival mode to actual, collective activism. The stories coming out are wrenching, which I only know when John feels like sharing. Boundaries, yay therapy, but something wild happened. Someone in the group had quietly collected dozens of members' testimonies, with consent, and went public, publishing an anonymous, open letter about the safe house era. It involved no names, but just enough to make locals put 2 and 2 together. And then, a journalist, from the alt weekly in AA's old town, reached out to John and a few others, wanting to interview former members of toxic found families for a series on modern culty friendship groups. John turned them down, his call, but a few other alumni said yes. Suddenly, my inbox started popping up with messages, from people a degree or 2 removed from the original AA circle. Some just wanted to say thank you for speaking up. Word apparently spreads. Thanks, Reddit. Some shared their own horror stories about similar alt families that devolved into codependency and manipulation. I ended up on a 90-minute FaceTime with a woman who remembered me as the girl at Avery's 2017 solstice party who looked like she wanted to make a run for it. Valid. It was cathartic to share notes, and she gave me some solid closure. You were never the outsider. You were just the only one with a working bullshit detector. John is changing. Like, in real time, before my eyes. Once, he'd have spiraled into guilt and withdrawal after something like the news stories broke. Now, he's venting, not bottling, ranting about the weird chosen family dynamic, about how easily boundaries got erased when everyone else pretended it was normal, about how furious he is that healing energy was used as a shield for so much real damage. I actually caught myself smiling, watching him yell about it while folding laundry. Who knew? Rage is kind of beautiful when it's honest and healing. Dog update: since you all followed from the first moment, she has successfully navigated her inaugural trip to a dog beach, lost 3 dog park fights, she's a lover, not a scrapper, and is now best friends with a 60-pound retiree greyhound named Goose. We started referring to her as our emotional support tripod, and she's become a minor mascot at John's therapy group Zooms. Yes, really. Now, for the honest, messier parts. My Let's Talk to Women on Apps experiment is a comedy of awkwardness so far, but it's made me realize how much my sexuality was filtered through the AA lens, performative, experimental, never just about what felt good or meant something. I'm still not sure where I land, but I do know this: I get to figure it out at my own pace. There have been 0 secret meetups, nothing to hide, and if I ever do want something more, John and I are deeply clear on what honesty and safety look like. For maybe the first time, I really believe that. Family plot: my mom is now group texting me and John, and includes the dog. There are dog sweaters in the mail. My dad mailed me old cryptic poems he wrote in high school and said I can edit them for my novel, so I guess we're officially weirdly okay with each other. There is no wedding date set, I'm unbothered. And then, I debated sharing this, but it's surreal enough that it feels wrong not to. AA themselves reached out yet again. A mutual acquaintance relayed, secondhand, so grain of salt, that both Alex and Avery are seeking counseling, too. Am I buying full repentance? Meh. Do I believe they're really moving to Bolivia to open a vegan eco-retreat? Seriously, this is what they said? Sure, why not, it's on brand. I did get an email from Avery, not about apologies or one more side of the story, but something like remorse. He said, "For what it's worth, I wish you both something gentler and more real than anything we ever did." I let it be. My therapist says closure is accepting that you don't need to find out how the other side ends. Best part, we spent last Saturday actually being a regular couple. Farmer's market, lunch, movie, dog in tow. It was uneventful and perfect. For the first time in years, I didn't feel watched, commented on, or like a guest in my own relationship. So, what's next? I don't know. The actual threat is gone. There's space now for things like quiet, vulnerability, laughing about nothing, planning joint trips, maybe, Tulum, for us, not anyone else's ayahuasca trip, rediscovering what we want, independently and together. There are moments, I'll be honest, when I still look over my shoulder, waiting for the other shoe to drop. But more and more, life just feels possible. Final DR of the week, we are messy, still, but healing. Long-lost cult friendship fallout now feels like a finished chapter, not a defining plot. The ghost of AA seems to be finally ghosting us, too. The dog is thriving. John is thriving. I might be, too, and for the first time in a long time, I'm not afraid of whatever comes next, even if it's just a really good, really boring Saturday.